Morning, everyone. Okay. So till now we had seen is additions, how computers will do addition, subtractions, and also multiplication, and we are done with the division also, and everything we are done all these operations on integers. Okay, maybe positive integers or negative integers, that is signed or unsigned integers. And computers can do only, actually basically they can do only additions and subtractions, but they can perform multiplication and division with the help of the basic operations of these combinations of additions, subtractions, and shift operations. So based on only these three operations, using these three operations, addition, subtraction, shift operations, computer can perform multiplication and division. So sample is given. You can see if you computer need to do 5 into 4, what it does is it will add the 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, but exactly not addition. For example, if there is 5 into 1000, it's not like 1000 times it adds 5. There will be it uses shift operations to make it faster. Okay, so in the same way, division is something like it is a subtraction process. If 21 divided by 5, it's like 21 minus 5. Again, whatever is the result, we get result from it. We need to subtract 5, again 5 and 5 until we get is the remainder 1. Okay, so these are process done during multiplication division, but not exactly, it involves the shift operations also in addition to addition and subtractions. Okay, so till now we had seen is all these operations using on integers. Now we will see how a floating point is represented. So first we will see what is a floating point number and how it is represented internally by a computer in a binary format. And later we will see what are the rules for addition and subtraction and the multiplication and division to do these operations on floating point numbers. So we already know the floating point numbers. Here are a few basics on floating point numbers. We also call them real numbers. So because they are numbers with the decimal fractions. Example is this one, 27.5, or you can say 10.75. These are floating point representation in decimal format, and we call this 10 is the integer portion, and this 0.75 is the decimal portion. Okay. And generally floating point is always interpreted to represent a number in the form of this one, m into r to the power of e. These are format used to represent, where m is the mantissa, e is the exponent, and r is the radix. Okay, so we already know the radix in the decimal format, it will be generally 10, and in the binary format the radix will be 2. So we already know the floating point consists of two parts. One is mantissa, the other one is exponents. So first part mantissa m we can say, and second part is you can say exponent, which is e. Okay. So this exponent decides where the position of the decimal point to be. So based on exponent, the decimal point can change. So we'll see an example also. So this is an example of decimal number 6132.789 is represented in floating point, and with a mantissa and exponent. So if you want to represent in this format m into r to the power of e, a floating point representation, something like this one, you can represent in this way, 0.6132789 into 10 to the power of 4. So this is same as this one. Okay, I represent in m into r to the power of e format, this format, m into r to the power of e. This is the format. So this same number I had taken, I represented this format. In m into r to the power of e, where m is the mantissa is this part and r is 10. Okay, so in decimal format r will be 10, but when you try to represent in binary the floating point number, r will be 2 to the power it will be. Okay, and the exponent will be 4. So So mantissa part is this one, and same I represented exponent is the 4, this one, and remember our radix is the 10, right? So here we go, we take the same example. This one you can see one example we had taken. This is a floating point representation to m into r to the power of e, where you can see you can convert this as a decimal representation. It is not a binary, it is a decimal representation, and I changed this one based on the exponent. You can see I changed the exponent. Instead of 4 I had changed it to 3, so obviously the decimal point changes, it comes towards right. You can see 6 point it became, because I had taken 110 from this one and I multiplied this one, so obviously we get the decimal point here, and it becomes 10 cube. Okay, if we take another 10 and multiply, you can see from the 10 cube, if I take another 10 and multiply, the point shifts towards this one. It becomes 61. You can see 61.32789 into 10 square. Okay, so similarly, if I multiply, you can see if I divide by 10, something like, you can see it shifts towards left 0.06, and into 10 to the power of 6, you can see. Okay, so I can see based on the exponent, the decimal point is changing. That is what we had discussed in this. You can see the second part designates the position of the decimal point and is called exponent. So this designates the position of decimal point. Okay. So this exponent designates where the decimal point need to be. So it shifts. So we can say this decimal point is floating. Okay, you can see even, so that's why we call as floating point number. So based on the exponent, it's floating, right? So that's why we call these numbers as floating point numbers. Okay, but in the scientific notation, the numbers must be fixed in one format. They must not change. So that's why we have a particular restriction, so that it will not float in this way. So there will not be these many number of representations for this single number. So there will be a rule, one rule, so that it sticks to only one notation. It will not have this type of multiple representations. Okay, so single number has, these are the different representations. So what is that rule also? We call this one as a normalization. That is, instead of having this multiple representation, there must be only one representation. Okay, because actually this is a decimal format. If I convert this one into binary format also, in the binary also it is possible to have this type of multiple representations. That is in terms of zeros and ones, the binary format in terms of zeros and ones, still this type of multiple representations format possible, right? So we have a method like normalization, which restricts to one particular representation, so that it will not have these multiple representations. So we call this as normalization. What is this rule? Something like example rule is 1.m. So convert a number into 1.m format. That is, after decimal point, we need to have only one. There will not be, must not be multiple numbers like 101 or maybe 100 and so on. There must not be 2 or 3 digits, 3 binary numbers after decimal point, towards left of the decimal point. There must be only one number. That is, it says 1 dot, and remaining will be the mantissa part. The remaining part will be after dot. So to the left of the decimal point, there must be only one binary bit, that is 1. That is the rule. And to the right, there will be the remaining all the bits into 2 to the power of, this is the radix, and this is the 3 is the exponent. So we call this one is normalized form, because this cannot be changed, cannot have different representations like in the previous slide, because it is restricted to 1.0. So we cannot move dot to this side or to the left side or to the right side. Okay, it is restricted with this rule, 1 point mantissa part. That is, to the dot left it must have 1. To the right of the decimal point, it must have the mantissa. So as per this rule, we have this example. Okay, so this dot cannot be moved to the right or left. So it is restricted to one representation. This we call as normalization. Remember this one, we will use this normalization during additions and subtractions and also multiplication division. In scientific notation also we follow this 1.m notation, scientific notation. Okay. Right. So this is the same thing. So internally in the hardware, it's like only mantissa M and exponent are physically represented, and the remaining are assumed. That is, the radix R at radix point position, where the radix, that is the point position, is generally assumed. So only in hardware we represent the mantissa and exponent part. Remaining are assumed because by default binary the radix is 2, and radix point it may be 1.m format. That's it. They are assumed. So no representation for this internally. There will be representation in the hardware only in the registers only for the mantissa M and exponent. So we already know in binary representation radix R is 2 and decimal it's 10. This also we had seen just now. It's a 1.m format, scientific notation 1.m. This is the mantissa into 2 to the power of e, the exponent. So this is a scientific notation we call 1.m into 2 to the power. Okay, these are the few examples, some basics on these floating point numbers. So obviously we can say it's a 1.m format, 1.m into the r into to the power e exponent. So radix is 2. Right. So we'll see how a computer represents floating point numbers. So when we write a example, for example, C program, generally something like a 15.2, we write in a C language, floating point number, which is 15.2. By the computer internally, it converts into binary format. So whatever your number enter in a decimal format, the computer internally converts into floating point number. That is the same 15.2 floating point number into binary format in terms of zeros and ones. So we will see how it does, how it converts, what is the process it takes for this conversion. Right. So it's like this. We already know there are various vendors, Intel, AMD, and various companies we have, and they design computers. They may follow different architectures. Okay, so they may interpret. That is, they may represent floating point numbers in different formats because the architecture of these companies, different companies which follow different architectures, they represent floating point numbers in a different formats. So there is no common format maybe. So that's why IEEE came with a particular standard, a common format, so that all these companies agree with that format, and they design their architectures which follow a single common floating point representation format. So we call this format as IEEE 754 format. So this is a standard format known as IEEE standard for floating point arithmetic. So this is a standard to represent floating point numbers, so that every company, Intel, AMD, or any other company, if they design computers, they design the hardware in such a way that everyone will follow the same representation of floating point numbers. Okay, so remember this is the IEEE 754 one. We will see what will be the structure or format to represent a floating point number in IEEE 754. So as per this IEEE 754, there are 4 sizes of floating point numbers. One is 16-bit, other one is 32-bit, and 64 and 128-bit. So we'll see if the format is 32-bit format we will see, and 64-bit format we will see in our class. And especially we'll take an example of this 32-bit also, and we'll see how given a decimal number, how we can convert into 32-bit binary format floating point number. Okay, so this 16, 32, 64, 128 bit, they can respectively called as 16 can be called as half precision, 32 bit can be called as single precision floating point number, 64 has a double, and 128 has quadruple. Okay, so we will discuss this one, 32 bit, that is a single precision floating point number representation. So these are all standard representation of as per IEEE 754. So that every company follows the same format, a single format, so that it will be easy for interpretation. So this is a 32 bit single precision floating point representation. So this is entirely of length 32 bits, wherein the first bit, the single 1 bit is allocated for the sign. So if it is a positive number, the number is positive, it will be the S will be 0. And if the number is a negative number, this entire number is, if it is a negative number, the sign bit, this S for sign, so it will be 1. So for negative, it's a 1. And this E is for the exponent, but we kept it as E dash. So it is something like it's said as exponent in excess 127 representation. Okay, we will see some information on this. What is the excess 127 representation? And remember, this is 8-bit. 8-bit for the exponent, because floating point consists mantissa and exponent and also sign. So this is for the sign, this is for the exponent, and this is for the mantissa part. So remember, this is the remaining 23 bit out of 32. You minus 1 and 1 bit and 8 bit for this one. The remaining 23 bit is for the mantissa part. Okay, and this is a range of numbers it can represent, plus or minus 1 point. This is a format, scientific format. I already said 1.m format. So plus minus 1.m into 2, this number 2 up till plus 1.m to until this number, this 32 bits can represent, and this is single precision. If you want to represent still more bigger numbers, we have a double precision also, which is 64 bits. Okay, so at the moment, remember this is for the 32 bits single precision floating point numbers represented in this format, and we already know this, whatever numbers we place here, computer internally stores specifies in binary format. Okay, so even we give the decimal numbers like 15.2, it is converted into binary format in these 32 bits and internally stores. Okay, right. So and I said like this exponent, 8-bit 8-bit signed exponent. So this exponent, remember this if it is 8-bit, what are the various combination of numbers it can represent? If it is a 8-bit, what are the number of combinations of numbers it can represent? So 2 to the power of 8. So obviously it can represent 256 numbers, right? That is 256 numbers of exponent it can represent. But thing is, we want to store positive exponents and negative exponents also. We want to store, because exponents can be positive and negative, right? The powers can be -4 or maybe something like +4 also. Okay, so this 256, that's why we can shift it 256, which can start from -127 to +127. So entire 256 bits, 256 possible values it can represent, because it's 8-bit. So 256 means it can start from -127 to +127. So it starts from -127, it decreases -126, that is it increases -126, -125, and so on until 0, and it goes on increases until 127. So -127 to 0, 0 to 127. So total 256. So it includes, so as there are -127 to +127, it can represent, the exponent can represent positive exponents and also negative exponents. And so this XS127 representation is to the main purpose of this one is to represent positive and negative values. And we already know that this positive and negative values we can even represent with 2's complement also. As we had seen in the previous classes, we can represent negative values with 2's complement, 1's complement, sign and magnitude also. But thing is, we are not using 2's complement here. We are using XS127 because this is efficient when compared to 2's complement. This one XS127 representation is efficient for this binary format exponent representation. So that's why we go with XS127 representation. So if you want to see how this range will be, it will be something like this expression, the same expression had given. Using 8-bit, the possible exponents are 2 to the power of 8, that is 256 can be represented. So we go for, need to represent positive and negative exponents. That's why we start with from -127 to +128. Total comes together 256. Okay, so the powers can be from -127 to +128, which we place the power, that is exponent here. So you can see how the binary in the binary format they are represented. When we say -127 to +128, in the binary format -127 is represented in this way, all zeros, all 8 bits zeros. -126 in this way, -125 this one. You can see we are doing +1 for each of them, and here all we are decreasing here. 125, 1 minus, so -124 is 11. Next -123 it's 100 and so on. And when we reach 0, this is the 0 represented, the exponent representation in the 8 bits. So what I'm talking about, these 8 bits, these 8 bits representation will be this, and similarly this one. Finally, the 128, the biggest number we can represent in this format, all ones. Okay. So we will see an example also where we use this representation, 8-bit signed exponent. XS127 representation. We will see an example of conversion. Right. So this is an example format. This is a format of structure for the double precision, which I said is 64 bits. This is the sign bit, which is 1 bit. We already know the plus and minus. We use 0 or 1, and here we use XS1023. Okay. And it is 11-bit in length. Previously, in single precision 32-bit, it is 8-bit, but here it is 11-bit. And there we had used 127 XS127 representation, but here is XS1023 representation. Okay. Similarly, and the Mantissa part is, you can see it's 52-bit. Previously in 32-bit, it's 23-bit. Is as allocated for the Mantissa, to store Mantissa, but here 52-bit is allocated to store the Mantissa part, and this is the range. The range is more when compared to the 32-bit. Okay, so mostly we will concentrate on 32-bit single precision. So this is an important thing you need to. This is a mathematical some problem. Given this is the number, is a floating point number 263.3. This we need to convert into binary format. This is a floating number given 263.3. This we need to convert into a binary format, and it must be as per IEEE 754 single precision format. That is 32-bit format. Okay, so that is we need to represent in this form. The given number we need to convert, and we need to represent in this format. So that the sign, we have a sign, we have a 8-bit, we have a 23-bit Mantissa, exponent of 8-bit and Mantissa of 23-bit. This is the format we need to convert the given this decimal number 263.3. So we'll see a few steps how we need to convert. So first step is we need to convert the 263 and 0.3 separately into binary format. So first we will take a 263 into, we will convert into binary format, and 0.3 also will convert into binary format. Okay. So can anybody say how we will convert 263 into binary format? So already you had seen in your maybe in your 10th itself, I think in your 10th or 9th class you had seen the 263. Generally something like a LCM. We do the LCM of 263 part. I had taken only 263, okay, integer part, and I had done the LCM with 2. So to divide 263 with 131. So 2 into 131, it's 262. Remainder I had written here, and so on. LCM we will do till we get 0, and you already know this method, and we write all the numbers from bottom to top. So the binary format of 263 becomes 1 0 0 0 0 0 and 3 ones. This is the binary format for 263. Similarly, we need to convert the 0.3 also into binary format. So 0.3 format will be a different one. So a different method we will follow. So this is how we will convert. 0.3 we will multiply with 2. So this is the method we use for conversion of this 0.3 into binary format. So 0.3 we will multiply into 2. We get is 0.6, 0.6. So the number to the left of the decimal, the point we will write has 0. The towards left of this decimal we have is 0. So 0 we will write here. Okay. Next we will multiply 0.6 into 2. I get is 1.2. So to the left we have of decimal, we have is this point we have is 1. So I will write 1 here. And for multiplication, I will take only 0.2 here. Only the right part we will take, that is 0.2. So only 0.2 I will take and multiply with 2. We get is 0.4. So to the left of this one we have 0. That's why I have kept here 0. And I will take the 0.4, multiply with 2 again. I get is 0.8. And to the left we have is 0. I keep 0 here. And again I will take 0.8 into 2. We get is 1.6. Okay. So I will take the left of this one we have is 1. So obviously I keep 1 here. And I will take only the 0.6 here from this one. I will not consider the 1 part which is left of this decimal. So I will take 0.6. I will multiply with 2. I get is 1.2. And thing is, you can see it repeated. So this step repeated again here. So obviously the remaining steps also, the preceding remaining steps also, the next steps, 3 steps, they also are repeat again and again. Okay, so there is repetition of this step. So thereafter, after this step again we will get the same step, these 3 steps. So obviously the numbers will be 0 0 1 1 and so on. They go on repeating. So these 4 numbers, this here to this one, these 4 steps will be repeating again and again. We will be getting the same numbers 1 0 0 1 and so on numbers. That is, we will be getting these numbers 0 0 1 1 0 0 1 1 0 0 1 1. These numbers will be repeating again and again. Okay, so when we take these numbers from top to bottom, we get is the binary format of 0.3. Okay, so let's see here. So when we take the 0.3 from top to bottom, all these numbers. So I'm talking about these numbers 0 1 0. So from top to bottom, I kept the arrow here 0 1 0 0 1 1 0 0 1 1 and so on. It repeats. So this is a format we have 0 1 0 0 1 1 0 0 1 0 0 1 1 0 0 1 1. It repeats. It goes on because the steps repeats again and again. Similarly for 263 we had done the LCM and we got the binary format is this one. Okay. So yes, we are done with binary format conversion. We are done with step 1. Okay. The multiple steps again. Step 1 is we need to represent 263.3 in a binary format. I already said. So how do we represent? 263 is in the binary format is this is the number I kept here, and I kept this point here, and the remaining 0.3 format is this one. So I kept the 0.3 here. Okay, this is a binary format of 263.3. Done. Done with step 1. Okay. Next, step 2 is represent binary format in scientific representation. We need to convert this one into scientific representation. What is scientific representation? I already said it's 1.m format. 1.m format is a scientific representation. So that is, we need to convert this one so that this point changes to this position. That is, it need to be 1 point and so on. So how do we do it? We need to multiply it with 2 to the power of 8 because point need to be moved to the left after 8 binary numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So after 8 numbers, I need to move this point. So obviously, I need to multiply it with 2 to the power of 8. Okay. Other decimal like that, we need to multiply. That is, it will be 10 to the power of 8. But thing is, this is a binary format, so that's why we'll multiply with 2 to the power of 8 because we are moving this one after 8 numbers towards left. So you can see I had moved it this 0.1 and the resultant I got is this the 1 point and the remaining is same. Only I moved the only this a point had changed to the extreme left. So I had moved it and you can see the remaining bits are the same and multiplied with the we have the radix is 2 and the exponent I get is 8. Okay, right. So I go done with step 2. Next I need to convert. Yeah, I got some Mantissa format. I got this is the Mantissa 1.m. We say 1.m format is the scientific notation. So 1.m, that is Mantissa. This is the Mantissa, and this is the 2 is the radix. And remember 8 is the exponent, and 8 in binary format we say is 1000 is the 8 in binary format. So this number we need to convert into IEEE 754 format. So how do we represent? Step 3 we'll see. So IEEE 750 format just now we had shown you already. It's a 32-bit single precision, and sign bit we have 1 bit allocated for sign bit, 8 bits is allocated for exponent, 23 bits is allocated for Mantissa. Okay. So in this format we need to represent. You can see. Because the given number is 263.3 is a positive number. We already know 263.3 is a positive number. So that's why the sign will be 0. For the positive number, the S1 bit will be 0. So as it is, I had written below it 0. S is 0 because the number is positive 253.3. Next is exponent is 8 bits. We need to represent exponent. What is the exponent here? We have 8 is the exponent. 8 is the exponent. So in the we need to convert it to XS 127 format. So that's why we will add 127 to the 8. 127 we add to the 8 and we get is 135. 135 we convert into binary format. Binary format. So we already know this is in the so this entirely this 140,111 we can say it's 135 because it's 2 to the power of 7 into 1, it's 128, and 3 ones means it's a 7. 128 plus 7, it's a 135. Okay, right. So 8 bits we have represented. These are the 8 bits. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bits we have represented in the this is the exponent. We have represented in the XS 127 format. And what about this 23 bits? The Mantissa part. So Mantissa part we had taken. This is the Mantissa part as it is. We had taken from starting from this 0 until these things, and this goes on repeated. Okay. So the entirely this after dot, it's like after this point, this entirely we call as Mantissa. So the Mantissa had written here. The Mantissa part I had written here. Okay. So this is a sign bit 0, exponent in the XS 127 format. This is a format. Okay. And Mantissa, we have this one. Okay. So I had written all this at one place. You can see sign bit here next to the entire next to all these 8 bits here, and next is the Mantissa part. So this is the sign bit, this is the exponent part, and this is the Mantissa kept aside. And we can say this is the in single precision as per IEEE 754 single precision 32-bit format. So we had converted the given decimal the floating point number into IEEE 750 or single position 32-bit floating point notation. This is after conversion. So these numbers repeats until the 23 bits are filled. Restrict 23 bits are filled. 4. Next is yeah, we're done with the conversion of so computer. When we give some decimal number like in 263.3 in our, for example, in our C program, it converts into the IEEE 754 format in this way. Internally it converts into this format and stores. Okay. And if you give some other number, maybe 35.6, it also converts that same number into this format, IEEE format in this way. In this format, binary representation, it converts. That is entirely, it consists of 32 bits. Okay, and on these two numbers, it can do addition, subtractions, multiplication, divisions. So whatever number you give, it converts into this 32-bit format, the entire 32-bit format, and it does calculations like additions, subtractions on these floating point numbers. Okay. Okay. So during addition or subtracting floating point numbers, it must shift the mantises so that exponents will adjust. So when we want to do some additions and subtractions on certain numbers, it need to see that the exponents are equal. Both the numbers which it want to add or subtract, their exponents must be of equal powers. Okay. So here are the rules for the addition and subtraction of floating point numbers. So for add or subtraction, these are the 4 rules we have. First is choose a number with smaller exponent and shift its mantis or write a number of steps equal to the difference in exponents. Set the exponent of the result equal to the larger exponent. So example we'll see these 2 steps. You can see in this example. With this example you can understand. So given numbers are these 2 numbers, 2.9400 into this radix is 10 to the power is 2, and this number you can see this is another number whose power is 4. So we want to add these 2 numbers. So if you want to add these 2 numbers, the power must be equal. Actually, its power, this number's power with the exponent is 2 and its exponent is 4. So exponents must be equal. So in order to make the exponent equal, we need to change one of the numbers exponent. We need what is a number whose exponent we will change. So we'll take is the one with the smaller exponent. So we will take the one with the smaller exponent. You can see the one with the smaller exponent is this number. So it has the exponent only 2 and compared to this one is 4. So we'll take this number and what we do is we change it to 10 to the power of 4. So in order to make it 10 to the power of 4, we need to shift it. So we need to shift. So you can see this is converted into 10 to the power 4 by shifting to the point towards left. So and we made it 10 to the power of 4. So 2.9400 is changed to 0.0294 into 10 to the power of 4. So this is equivalent to this one. Okay. Now we can add these 2 numbers because their powers are equal. So whenever powers are not equal, the exponents are not equal, we need to make the exponents equal and then we need to do normal addition. We can go with the addition we had done in the previous binary format addition in our previous classes. Previous topics we have done. The same applies to this also, but the only thing is the exponents must be changed so that they will be of equally exponents. So you can see. So now these 2 are of equal exponents. Now we can add these 2. So what we do? We need these. We added these 2, and you can see only the mantissa part. So this is the mantissa part, and this is the mantissa part. These 2 mantisses we had added, and we got is 4.3394. And you can see into the power is they are of equal power, so we can keep in this way commonly into 10 to the power of 4. Okay. So what? So these are the steps. So theoretically, In theory part, it is represented in these two steps. So choose the number with smaller exponent, shift its mantissa. We will be shifting the mantissa towards right. So we had shifted the mantissa towards right. You can see this is the mantissa we had shifted towards right. Okay. Right, a number of steps equal to the difference in exponents. So how many steps we will move towards right this mantissa? It's the difference of these two, 4 minus 2. Difference in exponents, which is 4 minus 2, which is 2. Okay, right, we are done. Now we can perform the addition and subtraction on mantissas. Yes, we have done the additions here on the mantissas part and determine the sign of the result. So it is positive sign. And next is normalize the resulting value if necessary. So normalize the value as per the format like 1.m. ఇక్కడ మనం తీసుకున్నది డెసిమల్ ఆన్ డెసిమల్ వాల్యూస్, బట్ కంప్యూటర్ ఇంటర్నల్ రిప్రజెంట్ చేసేది ఏంటి బైనరీ ఫార్మాట్ లో 1 పాయింట్ ఆర్ 10 పాయింట్ అని ఉంటుంది. సో దాన్ని we need to convert into 1.m format. So that is we call as normalize. Just I had shown you how do we normalize. Even though we have, for example, 100.01 అని ఉంది. సో నార్మలైజ్ చేస్తే 1.0010 అని వస్తుంది. So it must be 1.m format, 1.mantissa format. Okay, so these are the steps we need to follow. So first two steps say is to convert the number with smallest exponent so that the exponents of two numbers will be equal. Second is we add their mantissa part, mantissa's part and determine the sign also of the resultant value, and finally we will normalize it to maybe scientific notation like 1.m notation. These are the rules for the addition. Okay, similarly we have, so for addition and subtraction it is the same 4 rules. So generally the addition and subtraction it is the same method we are done in our previous topic, normal binary addition and subtraction. Okay, and for the multiply these are the rules. So when we multiply two numbers in the decimal format also, what we do when we multiply two numbers, for example 2 into 10 to the power of 5 into maybe 3 into 10 to the power of 6, what we do, we will add the exponents when we multiply, right? The same thing here also we will do. In normal decimal also we do the same addition of exponents. Here also in the binary format also we add the exponents. Okay, we add the exponent and we subtract 127. So we add the exponent and whatever result we get, we subtract 127 from it, because we are already representing it in excess 127. That's why we subtract minus 127. Okay, and finally what we do, we multiply the matrices of both the numbers, and next is determine the sign of that result. So for multiplication process, same as we had seen in our previous topics, multiplication of binary numbers, and finally what we do is we normalize as per maybe 1.m format. This is the rules for multiply. And the last one we have is a divide rule, wherein for division what we do is we subtract the exponents. So we subtract, if we have two numbers, we subtract their exponents and we add 127 to maintain this format excess 127 representation. And the next step is we divide the mantissas of both the numbers and determine the sign. And division is already we had discussed in our previous class. And the next third one is we will normalize the result of the whatever we get the binary numbers format, we normalize it to 1.m format. Okay, these are the rules. We're done with the addition, subtraction, multiply rules. Okay, we are done with floating point representation, and we are almost done with our unit 2. And another 15 minutes we will go with one topic, left out topic. carry save addition of summons. We'll cover this one in another 15 minutes and we will be done with the entire unit 2. So this we are already done with the bit pair recoding of multiplication. Booth algorithm we had done bit pair recoding. We are done with this process. We go through the previous videos also, and we know when we multiply two numbers, for example 30 plus 13 into minus 6, you can see we already know we will multiply 0 with all these 5 numbers, next 1 bit with all these 5 numbers, next 0 with all these 5 numbers, and so on we will multiply. So each time when we multiply with one number, we remember we get one summand. When we multiply with 0, we got this summand. When we multiply with 1, you can see we got the same number, and it's a actually this multiplier, this we call as multiplicand, this is a multiplier. So this multiplier actually we converted into Booth, as per Booth algorithm we had recoded it, and we got +1 and -1, right? So these are the numbers, and what we're doing is each time we are multiplying. So with the 0 we are multiplying all these numbers, next -1 we are doing all this multiply, +1 and so on. So as there are how many in multiplier, how many bits we have? We have 5 bits. So we multiply with each bit, we get one summand. So we remember these are the summand. This is one summand, this is another summand, this is another number summand. So we have different summands, 5 summands. Okay, so this our topic, the present topic, carry save addition of summands, to how we add these summands effectively so that we can make it faster, to make the addition process faster. So the technique we have, carry save addition of summands. How do we add these summands quickly? Is this one. So we already know when we add some numbers, for example, when we add this column 0, 1, 1, when we add this column, we get is 1, 0. When we add 1, 1, we get is 1, 0. So we keep 0 here and we keep carry here. Okay, a minute. Okay, so right. So we are trying to add these summands, and I said like when we add these columns 1 plus 1 we get is 1, 0. So we 0 we keep here, and when we 1 we pass to the next set of binary numbers to add next set of column, to add next set of column, next column. Okay, so in this carry save addition, this carry will not be added to the next set of bits. Whatever carry we get here from here, we will not add it here. We will save that carry and later we will add. So we can save 1 bit addition process. So you can see that's why we call it as carry save addition. So carry is not added immediately, it is saved and it is added later. So this carry save addition we use on summands. Remember, it is on summands. That is, these are the summands. So here we have 5 summands. Here are 3 summands. How quickly we can add? So by avoiding the carry, adding immediately, we can make it quick process. A little bit quick process when compared to normal addition. Okay. So we use it for speed up the addition of summands. Okay. So generally the carries are ripple. They move towards left. They ripple from one column to another column. So we avoid these carries. So we will take an example here. So addition of summands. So these are the 3 summands we have. You can see X, Y, Z. So these are the summands. They may be result of some multiplication of 2 binary numbers. They may be, these summands are result of multiplication of two binary numbers. Okay, so if you want to add these summands x, y, z, so we already know when we add three ones at the extreme, first we will add these three numbers, we get is 1 1. So what we do is we keep the sum 1 here, but carry we will not add here, we will not pass, we will not pass to next set of numbers. Instead we keep 1 here, the carry here. So this row represents the carry bit, this s represents the sum. So when we add three numbers, we get 1 1. So we keep 1 here, the sum, and carry will place here. And similarly, when we add, you can see these numbers 1 and 1 we get is 1 0. Okay, so 0 will keep here, the carry we will place here. Similarly, when we add this one. So in this way, when we add, for the example 1 1, it is 1 0. So we place 0 here, but carry we will place here. And similarly 1 1 and so you can see finally we get is this. So similarly this one, so 1 1 you add, you keep 0 and 1 here. Okay, so we got the sum vector, this is, and carry vector, we have this one. And now we will add these numbers as per normal addition. So these two numbers we will add as per normal addition. So that is, we will have carry and we will add carry to the next pair and they will add the carry. So you can see 1 we had added, 0 1 0 1 0 1 0. This is normal addition. That is, if we have 1 1, we can pass the carry here and the carry gets added. So this is normal addition. And remember this, while add this one, these three numbers, we separately write the sum here and carry here. So that's why we call as carry save addition, because we are saving the carry. First we are saving the carry in this way and later we are adding it. Okay, so if there are 3 summands, we can do in this way. But if we have 6 summands, how we can add? If we have, instead of 3, if we have 6 summands. For example, in our previous example, you can see here we have is 5 summands. 5 summands. I'm talking about these summands. How we can add these 5 summands quickly in carry save addition? In this format, how we can do if we have 5 or 6 summands. So you will see an example of 6 summands, how they are added. So as there are 3, we had done in this way. But if we have 6, what we do is we split into 3 and 3. 3 summands, 3 summands. First 3 summands we will add in this way, and we write sum and carry separately, and later another 3 summands we will again add in this way, and we will write their sum and their carry separately. Okay, we will see that method here, and this is a hardware implementation of carry save is done. So if you take, for example, these 3 summands, the sum and carry, you can see the 3 summands. These are the 3 summands. How they are added. So when we add, we are separately writing the sum here and their carry here. We had seen in the previous slide the same thing. And we are repeating. So x0, x1, x2, x3. So this is x0, x1, x2, x3, maybe x4. And simply y0, y1, y2, y3, and so on. So and as sum we have, carry we have. So sum we have, carry we have. And finally we have the normal addition. So these 3 are these column is added as per sum here and carry separately, but this addition is a normal addition, normal binary addition. This carry will be propagated to the left and they will be added. Okay, so this is a hardware implementation where we give the input. You can see x0, y0 and z0, all the 3 bits in this column. For example, x0, y0, z0, they are given as an input. Okay, and sum is given as an output to the other full adder, and but the carry is, you can see, it's sent to the next full adder. So this carry bit, what we are getting, the C0, you can see C0 we are passing to the next 2 full adder, so that this will do this addition. So this addition is done by these full adders. So 1 bit by 1 bit addition. 1 bit by 1. So this full adder will do 1 bit addition, these 2 bits addition, this full adder will do this 2 bit addition, this full adder will do this addition. And this column addition is done by these full adders. And remember, important thing is in our previous slides, when we see the hardware implementation, the carries had propagated in this way. From full adder to full adder, the carries had propagated, because whatever we get the resultant of carry from this sum of these bits, the carry will propagate to here and carry is added here. And when we add these 2 bits here, the carry will propagate to this one, and the carry is added in this sum. So carries propagate, but here you can see the carry C0 is sent to the next level of full adder, and here also the resultant carry is next to the full adder. It is saved. It is saved. Okay. Let's see. So I already said this is a 3 summons addition. You will see how 6 summons addition is done. So we'll split it into 3 summons, and we will separately write their sum and their carry. So I will show you. This so you can see when we multiply these 2 numbers, we got is 6 summons. A, we call this one as this summand as A, this one as B, this one is C, D, E, F. So we have 6 summons A, B, C, D, E, F. This A, B, C, and so on. Okay. So how quickly we can add these numbers is the question. So when we write, first what we do is we add A, B, C. That is, we add A, which is this one, next B, C. We add only A, B, C separately. We write their sum and carry separately. And similarly, next we will add D, E, F summands, and we will write their sum and carry separately. So you can see these are represented here. So when you multiply these 2 numbers, we have is these are the summands we have. So what we have done is these are the 3 A, B, C summands. So we had taken only first 3 summands, and we added them, and we got is sum S1. We added A, B, C, and we got sum S1, and carry separately we had represented. These are the carry C1. Similarly, we take another 3 set of summands, that is D, E, F. So this is the D, this is the E, this is F, and we added them, and we had written their summands. There is sum is this one, and carry is this one. So we had saved in this carry. So finally we got is S1 C1, S1 C1, and next we have is S2 C2. So this is S2 C2. Next what we will do is we will add S1 C1 and S2. So we not yet added C2. So we had just added S1, C1 and S2. So we had added. So when we add them again, we add as per carry save only, because we write the sum separately, and the C3 resultant carry also we had written separately. We had done this, and finally we added C2 here now, the carry C2 which we got in this step C2. We got C2. So we added all the 3 here, and again we had written the sum separately S4, and C4 also the carry we had written separately. And remember, addition of the last 2, last lo manaku reduce ayinaka last 2 vachayi add cheyadaniki. Ippudu we will do normal addition, where the carries will propagate from one pair to another pair. Ikkada chudandi 1 1 add chesthe actually em vastadi, it's 1 0. So we'll keep 0 here, and 1 will propagate. It is a normal addition. Now again 1 1 add chesamu, ante carry ikkada nunchi vachina carry 1 plus this one. So it becomes 1 0. We kept 0 here, we kept 1 here. So 3 ones here. When we add, it becomes 1 and 1. So the 1 we got here. So this is normal binary addition. ఇంతవరకు మనం యాడ్ చేసిన ఇవన్నీ కూడా క్యారీ సేవ్ అడిషన్స్, బట్ లాస్ట్ స్టెప్ లో మనం యాడ్ చేసింది మాత్రం నార్మల్ అడిషన్, విచ్ వేర్ ఇన్ ద క్యారీ ప్రాపగేట్స్ అండ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ యాడెడ్ టు ద నెక్స్ట్ అడ్జసెంట్ పేర్స్. ఓకే, అండ్ ఫైనల్లీ we got this is the product. Okay, but what main intention here is సమ్మెంట్స్ ని ఎంత ఈజీగా ఎంత ఫాస్ట్ గా యాడ్ చేయొచ్చు, క్యారీని ఇమీడియట్ గా పక్కన పంపించకుండా దాన్ని సేవ్ చేసుకొని తర్వాత యాడ్ చేస్తే ఫాస్ట్ గా అవుతుంది. సమ్ అండ్ అడిషన్ హార్డ్వేర్ ఇంప్లిమెంటేషన్ కూడా ఈజీగా అవుతుంది, లిటిల్ బిట్ ఫాస్టర్ అని చెప్పడానికి. సో ఇదే మనకు సమ్ diagrammatical representation of first A, B, C are added, and we get there as sum and carry separately, S1, C1. This happens in level 1. Similarly, D, E, F, the 3 summands are added. There we get their sum and their carry separately. Finally, next we added is S1, C1, S2. These 3 we added. We got their sum and their carry separately, and next we had taken C2 here, and next we considered in level 3, we considered all the 3 and we had written their sum and their carry separately. And finally, this is the normal addition we had done here in final addition, and we got the product. Okay. So we got the product of these two numbers. So ఈ రెండు numbers multiply చేసినప్పుడు ఈ సమ్మెంట్స్ వచ్చినాయి. ఈ సమ్మెంట్స్ ని ఎంత క్విక్ గా యాడ్ చేయాలంటే 3 గా తీసుకొని ఫస్ట్ 3 ని మనం యాడ్ చేసాము, నెక్స్ట్ 3 ని యాడ్ చేసాము, and we operated on their sum and their carry operations, and finally last ఇట్లా 2 వచ్చేటట్టు చూసేసి final product we got. So this is the carry save addition hardware. This is normal. So this is a carry save. This is the important hardware implementation of this one. So ఇక్కడ carries చూడండి, carries ఇలా propagate అవుతున్నాయి. Carries next level కి propagate అవుతున్నాయి. Next level. These are carries. So అదే మన ripple adder లో చూడండి మీరు, NB triple adder అక్కడ ఏంటంటే carries propagate ఇలా direct వెళ్ళిపోతున్నాయి. ఈ full adder నుంచి they are moving to another full adder towards left. So that they involve in addition. But here is we are not immediately adding them. We are sending them to next level. Okay. Right. So with this one we are done with the entire 2 units, and if you have any doubts you can ask me. I will provide this entire notes to you. You can stay back. And one more thing is before first meet, the before day, that is if the I guess its exam is on Thursday. If it is on Thursday, I will keep on Wednesday 1 hour session wherein you can log in and you can clear your doubts. Whoever interested, they can log in and you can clear doubts. And remember, you can ask any minor doubt also. No need to feel that it's a small doubt. Even at the, if you have doubt in the first page of the book, you can ask me. So don't feel anything, and you can feel free to log in at that time, the before day. Let me know, you discuss with your classmates, and you can see, or you can discuss with your classmates, and let me know the convenient time, the before day of the exam. So that so what you do is before login, you go through entire slides and the topics, so that you get if you have any doubts, you can log in. Okay, and let me know the convenient time. Okay, thank you all of you. If you have any doubts, please you can stay back and you can ask me. Thank you. And let me take the attendance. For just 2 minutes, I will take the attendance.